Hi everybody, welcome back. I hope you've been staying safe, staying inside, doing whatever you can to help protect the NHS and allow them to continue their vital and heroic work. Now, we're going to carry on reading Skyward, a story of female pilots in World War II by Sally Deng today. For those of you who weren't with us last time, Chapter 1 is available on the International Bomber Command Centre's YouTube channel still. So obviously I recommend you listen to that chapter first before you move on to Chapter 2, otherwise it's not going to make any sense. But today we're going to read Chapter 2. Here we go, another beautiful illustration. I'm inside this time because the weather's not that great today. So please bear with me and I hope you can still see everything. But here we go. Chapter 2. Change. In 1939, another Great War began. Hazel, Marlene and Lilia braced themselves every day for increasingly worse news. From her daily papers, Marlene read about Hitler's ride to power and his invasion of Poland. Hazel found herself in heated discussion with those who were against allowing Jewish refugees into the US. Every night, Lilia and her family gathered around the radio to listen to updates about the rising tensions between the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany. A heavy silence settled between their family and friends whenever a word was received about fatal bombings and ongoing gunfire. The future seemed bleak. Marlene watched as many of her male colleagues were drafted to help fight in the war. Wives, sisters, friends and mothers from Lilia's small town looked to one another and asked the same question: what can I do to help? So they began working, each woman contributing what she could. Hazel watched as the women in her neighbourhood took up all kinds of jobs, making rivets, sewing parachutes, nursing soldiers, operating radios, painting posters, repairing machines, driving trucks, and much, much more. Pilots like Hazel, Marlene, and Lilia wanted to help too. Let us fly, they pleaded with the government, but their cries fell on deaf ears. The girls huffed in their frustration as those in charge laughed at the idea of women flying in the military. As the war continued, it soon became apparent that there were not enough male pilots to go around. The military's need for them soon became desperate. Women persisted, pointing out that the idea wasn't so ridiculous anymore, it was necessary. The call to join the Women's Auxiliary Service Pilots, or WASP, was announced. Hazel's dream had come true. The US government was starting a women's aviation unit headed by record-breaking pilot Jackie Speed Queen Cochran. Although a civilian group, they would take on all the same tasks performed by armoured pilots. Still, whenever Hazel entertained the idea of registering, her palms instantly became sweaty. She confided in her friend Elizabeth, who also felt the same. a Chinese and an African wanting to join. They'll think us mad and laugh in our faces. I've lost count of the amount of times someone's laughed at my face. I'd rather them not spit at me though. They sat together in silence, imagining the worst case scenarios. The sky should not be limited to one colour, said Elizabeth after a moment. If we don't try, we'll regret it for the rest of our lives. So they did. Apart from a slight delay, Hazel's amazing flight record qualified her for training. Elizabeth, however, was turned away immediately. Recruitment was very direct about why she was rejected. In fact, they soon heard of others like Elizabeth who had been dismissed based on the colour of their skin. What a waste of talent, Elizabeth sighed. Hazel couldn't agree more. Unfortunately, segregation did not end in the US until more than 20 years later. It would be another 10 years after that before female pilots could officially join the military. Here we go. Here's a rather beautiful illustration on this page. Hope you can all see it. Of a black female pilot. Underneath it says Bessie Coleman. Back in Great Britain, Marlene was brewing her morning tea when she heard, "Marlene!" Her brother came tumbling into the kitchen, nearly tripping over his feet and shouting, "Look!" He held up the Morning Post and shoved it in front of her. She could smell the ink still drying from the press. "Have you heard of Pauline Gower?" he panted. Have I heard of her? She's only the first woman to get a commercial pilot's licence, and she started her own air taxi service, Marlene replied, slightly offended. If you're interrupting my morning just to tell me she's recruited 8 women for the Air Transport Auxiliary. The ATA? I thought they only took in old or handicapped men. Well, now they're apparently taking in women, her brother said with unmistakable glee. He spread his arms out as if he was flying and about to take off. What do you say, my dear sister? Do you think they will take you? Marlene flipped her hand. I can't imagine why they wouldn't, she said with a smirk. As soon as she logged the required amount of flight time, Marlene applied to the ATA. During her physical, her leg bounced up and down impatiently as she waited for her turn. She huffed as they fumbled over her flight and medical records when the doctor pointed out something funny in her file for the 3rd time. It was all Marlene could do to keep from pulling her hair out. Something tells me these army doctors aren't that familiar with the female body, she whispered at the other hopeful recruits. When she was finally given a clean bill of health, it took all of Marlene's remaining self-control to keep from laughing out of pure joy and relief. Like many of her friends, Lilia wrote letters to Colonel Marina Raskova, the most famous aviatrix in the Soviet Union, asking to be given the chance to fly in the war. She was not expecting to receive a telegram from the colonel herself. Bring suitable clothing. If selected for training, you will not be returning home. Lilia frantically started packing. Her mama laughed when she saw the summer dresses in her suitcase and replaced them with woolen leggings and a heavy coat. She also found a doll underneath her sketchbook. You are a woman now. You should not bring a doll to war. And she said to her daughter before taking it out. That night she gave Lilia a necklace for luck. Lilia's family managed to scrounge up the money to send her to Moscow. The entire length of the train she was in had been strafed by enemy fighter planes just days before. She tried her best to keep warm as the freezing air whistled through the shattered windows and bullet holes. Lilia had never been to a big city before. Moscow might as well have been a fantasy land from her childhood stories. The buildings loomed over her, blacking out the stars with their imposing height. The subways rumbled and rattled underground. Echoes of screeching metal bounced through the cement tunnels. When Lilia finally arrived at her interview, she was surprised to be greeted by Marina Raskova herself. She was sitting across from her idol, the woman who had flown 6,000 kilometres from Moscow to Komsomolsk and broken the long-distance world record for female aviators. She knows my name, Lilia kept thinking to herself. It was very difficult not to pinch herself. When the interview ended, she almost didn't realise that she had been accepted into the programme. She was going to start immediately. She started to say thank you, but her words struggled to escape the tightness of in her throat. The colonel smiled and gave her a cough drop. And I'll just let you guys have a look at the illustration on this page. I don't know if you can see it, but this is Moscow. Isn't it a beautiful drawing? So, that's the end of chapter 2. Join us next time for chapter 3, just like the military. Chapter 2 covered quite a lot of ground, I think. I personally learned a lot about how difficult it was for female pilots at that time, and women in general, really. I was wondering if you could think of a few, at least 2 reasons why it was difficult for female pilots to start helping the war effort. Okay, guys. Well, have a lovely week. Until next time. Bye.